Two colossal ships drifted silently, their dark metallic surfaces reflecting the orange glow of the distant eclipse. The silence of space was broken by the faint hum of energy fields stabilizing their proximity. On board the flagship Eclipse Sovereign, Commander Lyra Kane stood rigid, her eyes fixed on the holographic interface, projecting detailed scans of the opposing vessel. "The Aegis Valkyrie," Lyra muttered, her voice carrying both awe and caution. "Haven't seen her since the Delvarian Rift." A younger officer, Lieutenant Oren Vex, leaned closer to the display. "I thought she was destroyed during the Zendar uprising. What's she doing this far into neutral space?" "Unanswered questions only lead to assumptions, Vex," Lyra replied sharply. "Prepare a direct channel. Let's see if Captain Terran Drade is still at the helm." Moments later, a translucent figure appeared on the comm screen. Captain Drade himself, his face lined with age but his sharp gaze unyielding. "Commander Kane," he greeted, his tone clipped. "To what do I owe this unexpected rendezvous?" "You breached neutral space borders, Captain. I'm sure you know the consequences if your intentions are less than honorable," Lyra said, her tone icy. Drade smirked faintly. "Neutral space? I wasn't aware I'd crossed an imaginary line. My crew and I are seeking something vital, something far older than our petty conflicts. Surely, you've noticed the recent shifts in energy patterns around the sector." Lyra's fingers tapped subtly on her interface. Behind her, encrypted scans were running at full speed. "You always did speak in riddles, Drade. Maybe this time, you should stop playing coy and share specifics." Drade's smirk faded. "There's an artifact buried within the nearby Scorvin Nebula, a relic of the Precursor era. Its power is unparalleled, and it's destabilizing the fabric of this system. If left unchecked, it could trigger cascading collapses across multiple sectors. My presence here is far from hostile, Kane. I'm here to prevent catastrophe." "Convenient excuse," Lyra countered, though there was a flicker of doubt in her expression. "Your history suggests you're more interested in claiming power than saving lives. Believe what you will, but know this. If I fail, the consequences will affect us all, even you, Commander." Drade's transmission ended abruptly, leaving only static in its wake. Lyra exhaled, her tension palpable. "Run a full analysis of his ship's trajectory," she ordered. "I want to know every detail of where he's been in the last 6 months. Vex hesitated. "Commander, if what he's saying about the artifact is true, then we'll verify it ourselves." Lyra cut him off. "Prepare the away team. We'll chart a direct course for the Scorvin Nebula. If Drade's lying, we'll ensure he never leaves this sector alive." In the vacuum of space, the two ships adjusted their positions, their engines igniting with faint bursts of blue light. Neither crew fully trusted the other, but the impending mystery of the artifact demanded cooperation, however fragile it might be. The journey to the Scorvin Nebula was unervingly quiet. On board the Eclipse Sovereign, the crew worked tirelessly, their focus split between monitoring the Aegis Valkyrie and preparing for potential conflict. Lyra stood at the command console, her expression unreadable as the nebula's swirling crimson hues came into view. "Energy readings are off the charts," Vex reported, his voice tinged with unease. "Magnetic interference is increasing as we approach. Keep shields at maximum," Lyra ordered, "and ensure we maintain a safe distance from Drade's ship. I don't want him gaining any tactical advantage." As the ships edged closer, the nebula seemed to pulse, emitting faint ripples that resonated through their systems. Lyra's display lit up with an alert. "Commander, we're detecting something," said Chief Engineer Sora Ven. "There's a structure embedded within the nebula, a massive one. It's radiating energy signatures consistent with Precursor tech." Lyra's gaze sharpened. "Bring it up on the main display." The hologram expanded, revealing an intricate network of spires and conduits that seemed almost alive, glowing faintly in sync with the nebula's pulses. "This is it," Vex murmured, awestruck. "Prepare the away team," Lyra said, her tone decisive. "We'll take a closer look." Moments later, She descended to the hangar, where a small squad of Marines awaited her. Each one was armed with advanced plasma rifles and fitted with exosuits designed for extreme environments. As they boarded the shuttle, Vex hurried to her side. Permission to join the team, Commander. Lyra hesitated but nodded. You've got 5 minutes to gear up. Meanwhile, on the Aegis Valkyrie, Drade observed their movements with quiet calculation. His first officer, Kalen Dar, approached him. Should we intervene, Captain? Dar asked. Drade shook his head. Let Kane make the first move. We'll follow, but keep our distance. The artifact's defense mechanisms could obliterate both ships if we're reckless. Back on the shuttle, Lyra's team pierced through the nebula, the dense clouds crackling with arcs of energy. The alien structure loomed ahead, its immense size overwhelming. As they approached, an opening revealed itself, a vast, circular gateway that emitted a low, rhythmic hum. Lyra glanced at Vex. Thoughts? It's responding to our presence, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. This thing's been dormant for who knows how long. We might have just woken it up. Stay sharp, Lyra ordered. If anything moves, shoot first, ask questions later. The shuttle docked, and the team disembarked into an expansive chamber filled with towering crystalline formations. The walls seemed to pulse faintly, as if alive. Scans are picking up massive energy reserves, Vex said, but no signs of life. At least, not organic life. Keep moving, Lyra said. They reached the core of the structure, a raised platform encircled by conduits that glowed brighter as they approached. In the center, a small, spherical artifact floated, its surface etched with intricate patterns that shifted constantly. That's it, Vex whispered. The precursor artifact. Lyra stepped forward cautiously. Can we extract it safely? Unclear, Vex replied. It's deeply integrated into the structure. Removing it could destabilize everything. Before Lyra could respond, a deafening hum filled the chamber. The walls began to shift, and the crystalline formations lit up, casting the room in blinding light. We've triggered something, Vex shouted. Fall back, Lyra ordered. As the team retreated, the platform began to descend, revealing a network of mechanical constructs that sprang to life. They resembled sentinels, their sleek forms glowing with the same energy as the artifact. The first sentinel launched forward, its movements swift and precise. Lyra fired, her plasma rounds ricocheting off its energy shield. Target the joints, she yelled. The team regrouped, their coordinated fire eventually disabling the sentinel. But more emerged, their numbers overwhelming. We need extraction. Lyra barked into her comm. Shuttles inbound, came the pilot's reply. As they fought their way back, a sudden explosion rocked the chamber. The Aegis Valkyrie's away team had arrived, their heavy weaponry carving a path through the sentinels. Drade stepped forward, his rifle blazing. Didn't think I'd let you have all the fun, he called out, smirking. Lyra scowled but didn't argue. Together, the two teams managed to reach the shuttle, narrowly escaping as the structure began to collapse, its energy spiraling out of control. Once aboard the Eclipse Sovereign, Lyra turned to Drade, who had followed them aboard. This doesn't change anything, she said coldly. You're still a threat. Drade chuckled. And you're still as stubborn as ever. But this isn't over. That artifact wasn't just a relic. It was a warning. Before Lyra could respond, alarms blared. The energy from the collapsing structure was cascading outward, forming a massive shockwave. Brace for impact, shouted Vex. Both ships engaged their engines at full throttle, narrowly escaping the blast. As the chaos settled, Lyra stared at the now empty void where the nebula had been. What have we unleashed? She whispered, her voice barely audible. The remnants of the Scorvin nebula drifted in silence, a void where vibrant energy once swirled. On board the Eclipse Sovereign, the bridge was tense, the crew scrambling to process the data streaming in from the aftermath. Lyra stood motionless, staring at the debris field displayed on the main screen. Damage assessment, she ordered. Vex scanned his console. Shields held, but barely. We've sustained minor structural damage. No casualties reported. And the Aegis Valkyrie? They've pulled back to a safe distance. No visible damage, but their systems are fluctuating, likely from the energy surge. Before Lyra could respond, an alert blared. Sora's voice came through the comms. Commander, we're picking up residual energy signatures, focused and moving. It's not debris. Something's still active out there. Put it on screen, Lyra commanded. The display shifted, highlighting faint traces of movement within the wreckage. Dark, sleek shapes were weaving through the debris, their patterns deliberate and coordinated. Sentinels, Vex muttered, his face pale. Some of them survived. Battle stations, Lyra snapped. Arm all weapon systems. I want a firing solution immediately. As the crew mobilized, another alert flashed across the console. A transmission was coming in, encrypted and unfamiliar. Lyra hesitated before opening the channel. The voice that followed was unlike anything they'd encountered. It was deep, resonant, and layered, as if multiple beings were speaking in unison. You have trespassed on sacred ground, it intoned. The artifact was a seal, and now the balance is broken. Your presence has unleashed a force beyond your comprehension. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Who are you? What force are you talking about? The voice ignored her question. The Scorvin Nebula was a prison, a barrier holding back the remnants of an ancient war. The artifact you sought was never meant for mortal hands. Prepare yourselves, for the reckoning has begun. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving only a heavy silence. Commander, Vex said cautiously, if what they're saying is true. I don't care about their cryptic warnings, Lyra interrupted. Our priority is survival. Focus on the Sentinels. If they're hostile, we take them out. The Sentinels emerge fully from the debris, their movements faster and more aggressive than before. Energy beams lanced out, striking the Eclipse Sovereign's shields. Shields down to 70%, Sora reported. These things are packing serious firepower. Return fire, Lyra ordered. The ship's cannons roared to life, targeting the Sentinels with precision. One by one, the constructs fell, but their numbers seemed endless. On the comms, Drade's voice cut through the chaos. Kane, we're not going to last if we keep fighting them head-on, he said. We need a better strategy. Lyra clenched her jaw. And I suppose you have one. There's a secondary energy surge originating from deeper in the wreckage. Whatever's out there, it's drawing the Sentinels. If we neutralize it, we might buy ourselves some time. Or it could trigger something worse, Lyra countered. Do nothing, and we're dead anyway, Drade replied. After a tense moment, Lyra relented. Fine, we'll coordinate. But don't think for a second this makes us allies. The two ships maneuvered through the debris field, their combined firepower keeping the Sentinels at bay. As they neared the energy source, a massive structure came into view, a dormant station, its surface covered in alien glyphs that pulsed faintly. That's the source, Vex confirmed, but it's heavily shielded. We'll need to breach it to shut it down. Target the conduits, Lyra instructed. They're feeding power to the shield. Both ships unleashed a barrage of fire, striking the conduits with precision. The shield flickered before collapsing entirely. Send a team to the station, Lyra ordered. We'll cover you from here. Drade didn't hesitate. I'll take point. My team's already prepped. As his shuttle launched, the Sentinels intensified their assault, their numbers seeming to grow with each passing moment. Commander, they're swarming us, Sora shouted. Hold the line, Lyra said firmly. We need to buy Drade's team enough time. On the alien station, Drade and his team moved quickly, their path lit by the eerie glow of the glyphs. At the center of the structure, they found a control node, a massive crystalline core pulsating with unstable energy. This is it, Drade said. We shut this down, and the Sentinels lose their power source. One of his engineers stepped forward. deploying a device that interfaced with the core. The glyphs reacted violently, and the entire station began to tremble. "Captain, this thing's not going down quietly," the engineer warned. "Just get it done," Drade snapped. Outside, the battle raged on. The Eclipse Sovereign and the Aegis Valkyrie fought side by side, their combined firepower barely keeping the Sentinels at bay. Suddenly, the Sentinels froze mid-attack, their energy flickering before they collapsed into lifeless husks. "Drade's done it," Vex said, his relief evident. But before they could celebrate, the alien voice returned, resonating through their systems. "You have only delayed the inevitable. The seal is broken, and the Ancient Ones will rise. Prepare for the end." The station exploded, sending a shockwave that rippled through space. Both ships managed to escape, their crews battered but alive. On the bridge, Lyra stared at the fading remnants of the station. "We've unleashed something we don't understand," she said quietly. Drade's image appeared on the comm screen. "This is bigger than either of us, Kane. Whatever's coming, we're going to need each other to survive it." Lyra didn't respond immediately. Her gaze hardened. "For now, we focus on repairs. But don't think this changes anything between us." Drade smirked faintly. "Same old Kane." The transmission ended, leaving Lyra alone with her thoughts. She turned back to the main display, her mind racing with unanswered questions as the ships drifted into the vast, uncertain darkness. The vast emptiness of space loomed ahead, but the tension within the Eclipse Sovereign was anything but calm. Repairs were underway, but the crew was weary. Lyra sat at her console, replaying the alien message that still echoed in her mind. The words were layered with an ominous finality, their meaning clear. The threat wasn't over. "Commander," Vex said, approaching cautiously, "we've stabilized most systems. Long-range sensors are back online, but there's something you need to see." Lyra stood and followed him to the main terminal. The screen displayed a faint but unmistakable energy signature, a massive object moving toward them from deep space. "It's not debris," Vex explained. "The trajectory is too deliberate. Whatever it is, it's big. Put the fleet on alert," Lyra ordered. "And get me a visual." The sensors worked to enhance the image, and when it appeared on the screen, the bridge fell silent. It was an enormous vessel, unlike anything in the known galaxy. Its design was ancient yet functional, with spires and conduits glowing faintly. "That's no ship," Sora said quietly. "It's a war machine." Moments later, the comms lit up with an incoming transmission, not from the alien vessel, but from the Aegis Valkyrie. Drade's face appeared, his expression grim. "You're seeing this too," he said. Lyra nodded. "Any idea what it is?" "Only that it's not friendly," Drade replied. "If the artifact was a seal, this thing is likely what it was holding back. And judging by its energy readings, it's looking for something or someone." "Let's not wait to find out," Lyra said. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. If it engages, we hit it with everything we've got." As the two ships repositioned, the alien vessel suddenly halted. A beam of light shot out from its core, scanning the surrounding area. The Eclipse Sovereign shuddered under its intensity, alarms blaring. "Energy levels are spiking," Vex warned. "It's targeting us." Before Lyra could respond, the alien vessel unleashed a barrage of energy projectiles. The shields absorbed the first impact, but buckled under the second. Sparks flew across the bridge as systems overloaded. "Shields at 40%. Sora shouted. "Return fires." Lyra commanded. The ship's cannons roared to life, targeting the alien vessel's core. The Aegis Valkyrie joined in, their combined assault hammering the enemy. But the alien ship barely flinched, its defenses absorbing most of the damage. "It's adapting to our attacks," Vex said. "We need a new strategy." Lyra's mind raced. "Focus fire on the conduits. They're channeling its energy. If we can overload them." Her words were cut off as another projectile slammed into the ship. The lights flickered, and the artificial gravity wavered momentarily. Structural integrity is failing, Sora reported. We can't take much more of this. On the comms, Drade's voice broke through the chaos. Kane, we've detected a power fluctuation near its aft section. It's a weak point, but we'll need to get in close to exploit it. Then let's not waste time, Lyra replied. The Eclipse Sovereign and the Aegis Valkyrie coordinated their movements, weaving through the onslaught of enemy fire. The alien vessel's defenses intensified, but the two ships pressed on, their combined firepower creating an opening. Now! Lyra shouted. The Aegis Valkyrie launched a concentrated energy missile, striking the weak point with pinpoint accuracy. The alien vessel shuddered violently, its glow dimming as the conduits began to collapse. Direct hit, Vex exclaimed, but the victory was short-lived. The alien vessel released a massive shockwave, disabling both ship systems. The bridge went dark, and for a moment, there was only silence. When the lights flickered back on, the alien vessel was gone. Lyra's crew worked frantically to restore full functionality, but the tension remained thick. Where did it go? Lyra asked, her voice cold. Unknown, Vex replied. It just disappeared. But there's residual energy. Whatever it's doing, it's not over. The comms lit up again with Drade's face. He looked as shaken as Lyra felt. It retreated, but not out of fear, he said. This was just a test, Kane. It knows we're here now, and it'll be back. Lyra nodded grimly. Then we need to be ready. This isn't just about survival anymore. Whatever this thing is, it's a threat to the entire galaxy. Drade's smirk returned, though it lacked his usual confidence. Looks like we're in this together after all. As the transmission ended, Lyra turned to her crew. Double the repair efforts. I want us battle-ready as soon as possible, and start analyzing that energy residue. If there's a way to track it, we're going to find it. Vex hesitated before speaking. Commander, do you think we can stop it? Lyra didn't answer immediately. She looked out at the void, her expression hardening. We don't have a choice. The crew resumed their work, their determination renewed despite the overwhelming odds. Lyra knew this was only the beginning, but she also knew that failure wasn't an option. In the face of an unknown enemy, the fate of countless lives rested on their shoulders.